Taco Bell has like the best franchisee payout or pay schedule kind of thing.
In this business, we're sitting behind a computer all day. We don't have a ton of social interactions. And a great way to do that is picking up a part-time job so that you can just have other people that you can meet and connect with every day.
Like I said, I've been getting into OA more. There was a killer deal on yoga mats, and I had bought a bunch of like at-home like workout equipment, and the shipment had gone out right before Amazon was like,
cheers.
Cheers, my friends.
Welcome back to the Doughboys podcast. I'm your host, Logan, joined by my lovely Studley co-hosts, Josh McGill and Flipping It with Cisco. Today, we are also joined by special guest, David at Monetary Ocean. Super excited to have you here. David, if you could kick us off, just kind of give us your background and who you are.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on the podcast, guys. My name is David. I am 26 years old. I live in the heartland of America, St. Louis, Missouri, and I've been reselling on Amazon for about 5 years, and then I kind of dabbled in eBay much earlier in life, just selling different old toys, this, that, and the other. But I've been doing Amazon pretty much full-time for about 3 years. I really enjoy it. Like, there's so many attributes of it that I love, and very few that I dislike. That definitely keeps me going every day, and I just really enjoy what I do. So it's not even work at the end of the day.
So yeah, David, actually all of us met about a month ago or maybe a little bit more. We were holding an event while Cisco was here in town, and David found out about it online, and they drove over. We're like an hour from them, so it was super cool to be able to connect with some other sellers in person. Yeah.
No, that was putting it nicely. David stalked Logan to figure out the address of the event. Okay. It wasn't necessarily like advertised or really public knowledge.
I was a little thrown off.
He did some digging.
I gotta tell this story because it's just so goofy. The week starts off, it's like a Tuesday, and I'm at the gym, and this guy's like looking at me kind of weird. And I, whatever. He comes over, he goes, "Are you David? Still on Amazon?" And I was like, I have a pretty good memory with like faces and stuff. And I was like, I've never met this guy before. Like, I've never seen this guy. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been following you on Instagram for like 2 years." And he's like, "Look, I'm not a scrub." Shows me some 6-figure numbers. I was like, okay, this dude's legit. And so we're talking at the gym for a bit. And then Thursday rolls around. And well, he had mentioned that Logan maybe lived in the area. I didn't even think too much about it. And so Thursday, I see on Instagram, it was Cisco had posted like at the airport in St. Louis. And I was like, yeah, are they like, I didn't
St. Louis
connecting or like going to a different town? I was like, why are they here? And so then I reached out to Logan maybe. And I was like, I don't know. I asked someone like if they lived here, and Logan's like, yeah, I live in the area. Not really, just like an hour and a half away. He's like, yeah,
that's in the area. That's in the area. Yeah, it would be different. It would be different if we were talking about like O'Hare Airport and where Logan lives. That's the same state but a different area.
Very different. But then, so Thursday, I see you guys are in St. Louis, and I messaged Logan. I asked something. I don't remember what it was. There was something about a meetup that I saw. So I was like, all right, let me look it up on Facebook. So I look Logan up on Facebook. And the first thing I see is like this event that's taking place in his hometown. And so I call this dude up that I just met a couple of days prior. And I was like, hey, you want to go on a road trip for like an hour and a half? We'll go to this meetup. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So next day we get in the car and we go meet these guys up. And they were definitely a little bit skeptical because like he said, I call it research. We call it research, not stalking. But
it's not stalking if it's Facebook. That's the rule. Facebook is never stalking. It's public. Yeah,
it was research.
Right. Yeah.
What's crazy? I didn't know
it was reverse sourcing.
Yeah. Exactly.
I didn't know you guys had just met a couple of days before. I thought you were like lifelong friends or something. No. That's so funny. Wow.
So for all you know, you could have just gotten into a car with a serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
or he could have gotten a car with one.
It's something about Amazon sellers. You just know that they're legit,
Yeah.
And he showed you the 6 figures in sales.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you gotta trust him. He's been grinding.
It was cool. We met up, got a behind-the-scenes tour of Alpha Candles, went over to Opera House.
Very fabulous town, Alpha Candles. There's some fantastic scents. So if you guys are thinking about getting some candles for your loved ones, I'll tell you what, the butterscotch popcorn was my top pick. That one was
shopalphacandles.com.
Shout out.
Mother's Day is around the corner. So just saying.
It is.
Father's Day is next month.
All right. So David, walk us through kind of your business overview, your model, like when you started and maybe how that's changed over the years.
Yeah. So when I first started out, the thought, which is pretty much like what draws people in, is like private label. You get this Alibaba product and you slap a label on it and make a listing and bing, bang, boom. I've always known I wanted to, I've had some history reselling, like I said, like eBay stuff and just like miscellaneous lemonade stands as a kid, that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I know I want to do this. Let me, I got the LLC set up, everything was set up. And then I realized like, oh, I don't really have as much because like I was looking at some products that would have cost a lot of money to start up. And had I gone in on those, most likely they would have failed. Just looking at the product and knowing what I know now. And so then I came across Caleb Roth's book challenge, the 100 book.
Shout out Caleb Roth.
Yeah, shout out Caleb Roth. I came across his videos about it's like the 100-day book challenge or something like that. And I was pretty intrigued because I was like, there's no way that like books actually like would sell. And so then I was like, well, let me just try it, So with the Amazon seller app, I was scanning books, which if anyone knows about that, it's a terrible way to do it. And so I was just scanning books and buying books for $1 that were selling for $5 or $6, thinking like, oh, I'm going to make like, a quarter or something like that. No, I lost money on all those first buys, but it got my foot in the door in terms of just like looking at Amazon, looking at different products. I didn't even really know what Keepa was at the time. And so then the big moment was I found a seller tool, I believe. It wasn't, sorry, Caleb. I didn't start with Scout IQ, but I started with another popular like book scanning app. And so I bought the barcode scanner, go to a thrift store, and I'm scanning, no luck. And then the first book I scanned that's profitable is like $20 profit. And I was just standing there like, what the heck? Like this, it just blew my mind. So I just kept scanning, and then I ran out of my free scans. So on the spot, I like pull up PayPal and I'm buying the subscription. And so I scanned that. There was probably, $100 profit. And I didn't have that much to start up. So my startup was like $1,000. So that's why the book route made the most sense, because buy costs are max like $3 at some Goodwills, but as low as like $1 or even less, like I'll get into here. So I was doing just thrift stores and stuff. And then, so this is 2018. And first year was like 6,000 in sales. And then I found out that there's a couple Goodwill outlets that are kind of near me. And so I just started going to those 2 or 3 days a week, just every single, like 2 or 3 days a week, every week, just kept going. And I was getting those books for like a quarter, as low as like 15 cents. And so at that point, it took the business from first year was 6,000 in sales, and then got it up to 60,000 strictly off books. It was still pretty mind-blowing, because at the time I was working as a server. I went to school for like IT. And so I'd been applying to these jobs, wasn't having much luck actually getting the job. And so I just worked like a serving job while I was still applying to stuff, and also had this business that I was running. It got to the point where I realized like I could probably go full time. Like if I put 100% of my time into this, I feel like I could get much more returns than the 60,000. So then like mid 2019, I quit and went full time. Great idea. It was very, I was in a good position. Like I was living with my parents, so they didn't have that much overhead. Really worked out for me. So we're still doing books in 2019. 2020 starts right at the beginning of the year. I was out at the outlet or whatever, and someone had totaled my car. I was very hesitant I wasn't hesitant to drive, but like to go to those outlets, they're kind of in sketchy spots to where like it wasn't improbable that I would get in an accident. So I was like, I just don't want to mess with those right now. And so I was like, let me look into OA a little bit more, because I had kind of been dabbling in OA for a little bit in like 2019, just looking at like slick deals and different things to see if I could arbitrage like small quantities of stuff. So 2020 rolls around. I had that car accident in January, and I start really getting into OA. Well, that really panned out for me because in March there was a certain set of events that occurred to where I wasn't able to go to thrift stores anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm 100% OA and just kind of dependent on that at this point, which wasn't a bad thing because I really got a grasp of, I mean, I already had a good understanding of Keepa and all that stuff, but learning more so the new product side of things is a little bit different than like used books. Used books are a little bit more predictable in terms of like there's not going to be like a lead dropped in a group and then there's 100 new sellers on the listing. So it's pretty consistent in terms of like the supply demand. So I got to learn deeper like Keepa and using different price alerts and tools within Keepa. Pretty much wrapped up book operations like mid 2020. I was still going to like book sales. That was like really big like inventory driver. So I would travel places, do book sales, and it was like I think August of 2020 was like the last book sale I did, and I kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't really want to mess with grading books. Like, okay, is this a good book or like new or not like new, but very good or except like instead of worrying about like is there highlighting or underlines in the book, like I just rather would sell stuff that's new. And so it's like, oh, is the tag on there? Like, is it all in good condition? All right, let's ship it out. I'm still doing OA. That's like my main. I'll do some RA. There's always been RA in the mix. The whole time I've been doing RA from the beginning. So there's still a little bit of RA, maybe 20% currently, 70% OA. And then when was that? About mid 21, I got this interesting opportunity with one of my friend or my friends. Someone my friend babysits for. They had invented this product and they had a website. They didn't have any Amazon exposure. And so we worked together and launched their product on Amazon. And it's been working out really well to where now the product, there's some stuff going on behind the scenes with getting it licensed and then potentially Amazon now selling the product. So it's kind of cool to see the lifespan of like launching a product and then have it kind of be taken over by Amazon in that sense.
That's cool.
So I've been doing that since mid 21. Sales have been picking up really good with that product, and here we are. That's the story in a sense, in a nutshell.
It's a big nutshell. But I think one thing that I took away, I didn't realize how long you've been selling on Amazon for. Like most of the people that we talk to or that we interact with started around the big event that happened in 2020, but you were doing it a couple of years even beforehand. So you mentioned that like seeing all the ads of like doing private label, doing Alibaba, all that is kind of what got your interest. But what about you and your like how you are as a person made you think that you can do this and this is something that was a realistic avenue for you to proceed?
Well, now that I think about it, I left a little piece out right before I started Amazon. So one of my buddies, both of us at the same time, we found out about drop shipping, like with Shopify and I think Oberlo had just popped up at that time.
Oh no, you're a drop shipper? Don't tell me it isn't so.
I tried my hand at drop shipping. I had a handful of sales, but it just wasn't.
On Amazon?
No, this was Shopify.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had great success with the drop shipping. Mine not so much. And we both were aware of Amazon FBA at the time. But since he was doing good with the Shopify stuff and I was like, let me try this out. So that kind of led up. That was like 2017 or so. So that led right up to me doing a lot more research with Amazon. And I researched private label a good bit at the beginning and like kind of researched different products or niches and stuff. But it was the books that took my heart.
Books are fun. It's a grind, but like the ROI and yeah, it's cool. I think it's a great place to start, especially if you're looking to grow your startup capital.
I always recommend people start there because 99.8% of the time you're gonna lose money on your first handful of products. I couldn't put a number on how many, but like you could either do a test buy of OA products that are going to cost you a couple $100 and then you lose that $100, or it's $20 max of books that you're going to lose money on. So you have to, in my opinion, you have to lose a little bit of money to gain that knowledge of like, oh, now I can see like, Amazon's on the listing, and I thought that I could sell it for the same price as Amazon and get it sold. Well, not always the case.
Yeah, and it's part of it's like you don't know what you don't know. Like you don't know what questions to ask, what to look for until you kind of like run into that situation yourself, and you're like, oh crap, this was obvious if I knew how to read a Keep It chart. This was obvious if I just paid for the Keep It subscription when I started. Logan, who didn't use Keep It when he first started.
What I think is wild is, David, you said that you were using the seller app for books. How long did that stay?
Not long. Because I was like, how do you? Because the first book that just like sticks in my mind is like, it was like a Dr. Phil self-help book, and I remember scanning it, and I was just like, it was like one of the first like 10 books I scanned, and I was like, there is no way I'm gonna be able to scan all like these 5 bookshelves with this seller app. I was like, let me just pick out like popular books that are like, oh, people would want Chicken Soup for the Soul. Or like these books that you see everywhere. Like, as a bookseller, you're like, don't even touch those books. Those are the books that I was buying because I was like, oh, people love these books.
Chicken soup is for the soul, though.
It is.
Love me some chicken soup.
Yeah, that's wild. I can't imagine doing books with anything but Scout IQ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just put in the earbuds and start grinding away with the scanner. It'll beep if it's good. Otherwise, keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was. Yeah, switching to an actual scanning app was a huge shift in terms of like actually getting the inventory because I wasn't getting much. It was some RA stuff that I was like mostly selling on eBay because I was gated in it. So it was like the RA wasn't even that successful for Amazon because I was like just started an account, so I have no ungateability at this time.
Ungating. It's funny because we've heard that from several people of like getting that first book and then instantly like you're hooked, like that adrenaline rush right there. We've heard that from several people. So that's cool. Like then the hunt's on.
The hunt was on. And it's even crazier it sells. Because it's not really real until you sell it and you're like, oh, that book that scanned for $20 profit sold and I got $20 profit.
Yeah, I actually just got a 2,000% ROI.
Yeah. That's the thing.
And then you get the payout and you see it in your bank account.
Yeah. Because like if you start at like Dollar Tree, you're not going to get 2,000 ROI. It's not going to be as exhilarating. So it's a fun place to, like what you said, learn mistakes.
It's crazy.
The other thing I thought was really interesting was how you just like naturally started shifting into OA and then you were like forced into it, but you were already ready for that. That seems like it
that
just
was
like connected perfectly.
Such luck. So like I said, I'd been dabbling or getting into OA more, and there was a killer deal on yoga mats, and I had bought a bunch of like at home like workout equipment, and the shipment had gone out right before Amazon was like, we're not accepting, because like it was like April and May, they weren't accepting Amazon FBA shipments. And so that shipment had gone out right before, so it landed, and then they quit doing FBA, and people are locked down. So like the yoga mats, immediate, so like all this stuff that I had gotten. So it's like, you get lucky when you put yourself in those situations where you're like trying new stuff, or you never know what happens or what's gonna happen.
The FBA shutdown, I remember I opened my account like in the middle of that. I started in April of 2020, and it never impacted me, but I remember them getting the email saying that they were like opening back up. So I kind of opened my account towards the end of that. That was an interesting time.
Were you merchant fulfilling products, or had you not even like gotten into it?
I hadn't even started yet. But yeah, I opened my account right when they were kind of doing that.
So David, throughout your longevity in the Amazon space, has there ever been a point where you thought you might just quit and not do it anymore? Has there ever been a roadblock that made you question your decisions?
I think the answer is yes. I'm trying to think when. It honestly could have been in more recent times, because so I'm in my warehouse right now. I had previously been just working out of basements. I think it was like during this past Q4. So I had picked up a side job working at the notorious Taco Bell. And
love me Taco Bell.
I'm doing Taco Bell, and I'm doing Q4 volume at the same time, and I'm doing like 100-hour weeks. And so I was just chronically fatigued. And so I think at that point I was like, is this worth it? Like I knew that I didn't want to like pick Taco Bell or whatnot, but there was probably a handful of days where I was like just not wanting to do anything related to the business. Obviously I was still, doing the basic stuff, sourcing and shipping orders and whatnot. But at this point in time, I definitely don't feel that way.
What'd you do to get yourself out of that rut?
I think it was just time that kind of healed that one because, I quit the Taco Bell job because I would because dude, I was working from the time I started in the beginning of September. And so pretty much from October till the end of December, I was working no less than 80-hour weeks just between the two jobs. I was just so burnt out that it was just exhausted. Like I would wake up early, do either OA order or buying products or shipping, and then come home and do the same exact thing for however many hours. And just, it was pretty much my whole day. My whole existence was just working in one place or another place. And so it was just
two things. Mm-hmm. Why did you start working at Taco Bell? And why didn't you just outsource everything? Could have gotten yourself a buying VA, a purchasing VA, a prep center.
Not at this current moment, but I did have a prep center at that time that I was shipping to. So that definitely helped relieve some of the load. They kind of got sketchy with their pricing within the past 3 or 4 months, so I had to cut them off. We'll start with the Taco Bell one. I've always had this idea of wanting to own franchises, like food franchises. And when I looked at the comparisons between all the major companies, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, this, that, and the other, Taco Bell has the best franchisee payout or pay schedule kind of thing, where you don't have to pay very much royalty. There's a lot of upfront capital that's required. You have to have a net worth of 1.5 million. And then you have to have 700K liquid. And so I was like, all right, I know I don't, it's not a right now thing. And so for probably 3 years, I've been just man, it would be cool to work at Taco Bell and see what it's like on the ground floor to see if that would be actually an interesting franchise that I'd want to own. And so I moved into this place I'm currently at, which is 0.1 mile from a Taco Bell. I've been doing this full time for however many years. And since moving here, I was just man, I feel like a hermit. I pretty much had just been working in the warehouse, by myself at this point. Every day I was I need some sort of forced social interaction. Mm-hmm. So I was this could work out perfectly. So I'll get the job, learn all that kind of stuff, and then get to talk to people. So that's kind of why I was more so interested in the business of it. And also I've always wanted as a kid, that was the first place I wanted to work was Taco Bell. I don't know.
And I resonate a lot with that. So I spent 4 years working at McDonald's, and I actually really liked it. And one day I'd love to own a McDonald's franchise, or honestly many McDonald's franchises. Just I love the business. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So resonate a lot with that. And then also kind of the forced interaction thing, in this business, we're sitting behind a computer all day. We don't have a ton of social interactions. And a great way to do that is picking up a part-time job so that you can just have other people that you can meet and connect with every day.
Mm-hmm. What was the second question?
Oh, why haven't you outsourced everything?
We gotta have a fun little story time. So October, right? I'm looking at my business bank account and I'm there should be a lot more money in here, a lot more money. And so I'm looking through my statements and stuff. Basically, there was a situation where someone had hacked my credit card and defrauded me of about $50,000.
What?
Yeah. So it was a long situation because this has been going on for 6 months where they've been charging to my card. Wow. And I've been disputing with Amex. So I would dispute, and then the first one or two I had won and got the money back. And so then because they were coming from Microsoft, the charges were from Microsoft. And so I had changed my card, still happened, was disputing. And so I was just disputing it and just not really thinking about it because I had won the first couple of disputes. And so then I'm let me look into this a little bit more and check these disputes. Well, they had not been they were not giving the money back to me. So then for about a month, I had to fight for getting my money back. And this is like peak Q4 time. So I was like, I really, of the capital I do have, because outsourcing was definitely on the mind. I really don't want to risk outsourcing and have that potentially turn out bad and then have all my capital tied up in like obviously I would be doing the final purchasing, still having to pay the VA and all this stuff. I was like, I'd rather just control the capital completely until everything's kind of squared away, and then we'll come back to that. So we're kind of to that point of getting back to that. So I've been working on some SOPs for like a kind of a lead vetting or just kind of a sourcing VA, just to have basically wake up to lists of products that I can review and then buy.
That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder like how many people actually go through what you just went through and just don't realize because I've heard that, it's more common than we actually think of with just business accounts getting like hit with scam charges, and we're busy and it's like the last thing that we think about to review every single transaction until like tax time. I know, and
quite often.
Yeah, probably. Because even with other things, like for example, for me, just recently I realized that I didn't get my Amex Gold Card mile bonus for hitting the spend goal or whatever, and I got that card almost a year ago, and I'm just realizing now that I didn't get the bonus, and now I'm kind of going back and forth with them to get my miles and whatnot. But I guess there's human error,
Yeah, Amex is pretty forgiving with that stuff too, because they were able to fix my situation. It took about a month of back and forth between Microsoft and Amex, but they squared it all up. So I found that Amex is really
friendly,
customer focused, and like in a situation like what you have, Cisco, like I feel like they'll probably throw you the points.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Okay, yeah, shout out to Amex.
They want money.
They like money.
Yeah, they like your money.
Yeah.
Well, David, where can everybody find you on socials if they want to connect?
Social media, you can find me pretty much anywhere, Monetary Ocean, on all platforms. You can either search my name as well, David Miller, and that's where I exist. I'm on the internet, man.
Awesome. So everyone go give David a follow. Viewers, thank you so much for listening. David, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Peace.